Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're regular here, you know I review many photographic, audio and video related products. Well, I recently uploaded a video, I put a link up here somewhere, to the Nikon Zfc, which is this camera here, and it is a fantastic little camera. I say little, I've actually got a grip fitted to it because I found that the grip wasn't fantastic, so I fitted a third-party grip to it. It's just given a bit more of a handle, a bit more of a way of gripping the camera. It's also provided an Arca Swiss plate for mounting it to a tripod, so that is great. But I've recently uploaded a video about the ZFC, and a lot of people have said, what is the differences between the ZFC and the Nikon Z50? Now, there's many videos online that kind of highlight the differences between the two. So I thought I would give my opinion on what I believe are the differences between the two, and actually what I do know are the differences between the two. Now, the Z50 is this one here, and it's a really nice compact camera, completely different styling to the ZFC, which is here. So how can I do this? Do this single-handedly, not so easy. You can kind of see when the two are compared to each other. They're very different styling. The top plates are very different on the two cameras. The handling is very different. The look is very different. They're very different cameras. The Z50 has got the kind of what is becoming now Nikon's traditional handling features, which is this lovely grip, and it's got a great grip. It's a really compact little camera, but this is very similar in design, almost identical in design to the likes of the Z6, the Z7, the Z5. I've got the Z5 here. The Z5 is a full frame 24 megapixel sensor, and it's got a bigger grip, but essentially the design's exactly the same. And if you look at the design of the two of them, you can see that the design is, whoops, there we go, the design is very similar, if not identical, between the two cameras, where the top plate's almost exactly the same. The settings, the two function buttons on the front are exactly the same, so it's got two function buttons here. You can see, we can't see them because my fingers are in the way, but there are two function buttons just under my fingers here. And the same as on the Z50. It's got the two function buttons, in the same place. So the Z50 has been styled very similar, if not exactly the same, as the Z6, Z7 and the Z5. And that is great, because if you've already owned either one of those three cameras, and now a Z6 II and Z7 II, then you'll feel at home picking up the Z50, because what you can do is set all your function buttons on the Z50 exactly the same as what you've done on your Z5, Z6 or Z7. So the styling is great from that point of view, and that's exactly what I've done. I've pre-assigned the function buttons on my Z50 to exactly the same as what I've done on the Z5. So when I pick up the Z5, I know if I push the top function 1 button in, it will do the same as what it does on the Z50. So that is great. Whereby with Z50, completely different, totally different. There are no two function buttons on the front. There is one function button at the bottom here, but you can pre-assign. There we go. You can pre-assign that function button at the bottom there, and you just see that there. But on the top plate, there isn't any. But in photo mode, you can pre-assign the red record button to be a function button. So that's what I've done because of a lack of function buttons. The viewfinder is the same resolution as on the Z50, different style. It's got a circular viewfinder on the back of the ZFC, where on the Z50 it's got a square, where are we? It's got a square viewfinder on the back of the Z50. So it's just styling. The actual viewfinder inside, the electronic viewfinder, is exactly the same. But I really like the styling of the ZFC. And I like it because it's very reminiscent of what I used to sell and what I used to use back in the 70s and 80s, which is a Nikon FM and the FM2. They've deliberately styled it that way. You can see even the logo on the Nikon ZFC is very reminiscent of the original and the old style Nikon logos. So, you know, that is good. That is really nice. The build quality is good. It's magnesium mainly, but integrated with plastic as well. But the ZFC has an articulating screen, so it's ideal for vlogging and for video production when you're actually filming yourself, like I do a lot on the studio here. Well, I do entirely. I work by myself. I don't have a camera crew behind me, so it's handy having a camera which has got an articulating screen. As an example, my main camera today is my ZV-E10, and that's got an articulating screen. I mean, secondary camera, I've had to plug my Shinobi monitor in because that's the A6600. It's got a screen that flips up, but it's not as good as having an external monitor. So that's the A6600, and my close-up camera is picking up these shots is my Canon M50 Mark II, which has got the articulating screen, so I can actually see, you know, the shots that it's picking up. So the ZFC has got the articulating screen, just comes out like so. I'm not a big fan of that for taking stills. I prefer the sort of screen that you have on the Z50, which is basically, it comes up like so. So that's how I like to use it, but also it goes right down. So that's what they've done on the Z50. They've made the screen go downwards instead of articulating outwards. But when you're taking photographs, I prefer that style, so that when you just turn it up. If you're doing a low angle shot, you've only got to turn it up. The monitor is directly behind the body of the camera. I prefer that to being articulating outwards, but the articulating outwards is better for videos. So 6 and 1/2 dozen of the other. So that's, you know, effectively the design features. Takes exactly the same battery as the ZFC and the Z50 take exactly the same battery, which is great, because if you've got one or the other and you want to buy both, you've got, you know, you can use the same battery. UHS 1 card slot underneath, that's both the same. That's the same for both of them, so that's, you know, good. Pretty much the same position as well. It goes in the battery compartment. I never liked that design. I prefer the design where the card slots into the side of the camera, but, you know, hey ho, it is what it is. So that is that, and effectively the end results are going to be pretty much identical. You know, I will put up on my Flickr page sample images of taken with the ZFC and taken with the Z50, and I think you'll find they're pretty much identical because it is exactly the same sensor and the same processor. So you're not likely to get much difference or any difference between the images. It's the handling where the difference is going to come into its own. Which one do you prefer? So, you know, there are the main differences with these two cameras, is the handling of them, as opposed to what the image quality is going to be like. But there is one, I don't know if it's fundamental or not, because I've not had an issue, but there is one difference for video. The Z50 has face detect in video. So when you switch it to video mode, you basically flick this switch down on the top here. So that goes to video mode. So you've got a switch there, which is photo and then video. And that's great actually between these two cameras as well. But you can switch very quickly between photo and video. But the ZFC's switch for video is basically very similar. It's on the top there, video and photos. So again, they're very similar, but just a different configuration, but the end result will be the same. But the ZFC has eye detect in video, so we'll pick up the eye. The Z50 doesn't. It has face detect, but no eye detect. Now, I'm not so sure that makes you know, any difference whatsoever when you're doing video. I've used the Z50 quite a bit for video here in the studio, and I've had no issues with it getting sharp focus on my face. Possibly, if you're using a really wide aperture lens, it may, you know, focus on the nose and not the eyes, so be aware of that. So that may be where the ZFC will have advantages, because it will actually focus on the eye and not on the nose, as it were. So you know, that's something to be wary of, I guess. But I've not used anything less than 1.8, and I'm finding with f1.8 lenses, stroke 2.8, whatever, it works fine. But that is a fundamental difference. No eye detect in video, but it has got face detect. Obviously for stills, they've both got eye detect in for animal eye detect and also human eye detect, as well as face detect, obviously. So they both have that, but it's the video side where it doesn't have the Z50 doesn't have eye detect. As far as I can see, that's pretty much the fundamental differences I've personally come across between the Z50 and the ZFC. I like the ZFC. I shoot in manual mode on my ZFC. If you look at my review, I say that I linked at the beginning of this video, there is a fundamental reason why I shoot in manual mode. It's got a PASM dial on the top here for selecting, you know, your aperture, your shutter speed, manual, whatever it might want to be. But I found it easier to just leave it in manual mode and let the camera select the ISO. So I've got it set to auto ISO, which is great. There's no weight to the Z50 and the ZFC. They really are good. But with the Z50, it's got an ISO button on the top here. So when you push that in, you push your ISO button in, and then you can adjust the, obviously you can adjust the ISO setting by turning the dials, but crucially, when you set it to auto ISO, then it will select anything, whatever, because there is no ISO dial on the camera. It will choose the ISO, anything from 100 to, you know, I don't know, 6400, whatever it is, probably goes a lot higher than that. So there's another difference, is the auto ISO on the ZFC compared to the Z50. But primarily, to be honest, it is the handling that you're going to have, you know, you're going to be choosing between the handling of the Z50 and the handling of the ZFC. In video, you can't really tell what that's going to be like. Somehow you need to get to a camera store. There aren't many left now, is there? But you need to get to a camera store to feel the handling. There's, you know, the easiest way of describing it for me is that the handling of the ZFC is very much like handling an old film camera. So, you know, if you've used something like a Nikon FM, FM2, even a Pentax, any of the old film cameras, the handling is like that, but it doesn't have a grip. This one does. I've put a third-party grip on it. So that feels like handling an old film camera, and that's exactly what Nikon wanted. But the Z50, you feel like you're handling a modern digital camera, because it is a modern digital camera. So that's fundamentally the differences between, you know, these two cameras. They both take the same Z mount lenses. They'll take the full frame Z mount lenses or the DX Z mount lenses. On the Z50 now, I've got the 16-50 DX kit lens on, which I actually really like the lens. It's a really nice lens. Has got a 16-50 kit lens on. That works fine and dandy. And on my ZFC, I've got the 40mm full frame lens, 40mm f2 full frame lens on. So on the ZFC, that's going to work in crop sensor mode, obviously because it's a crop sensor camera, and that's going to be about 60mm. That's a really nice focal length. Certainly here in the studio, you still get nice bokeh. It's a really nice focal length, and there will be a video about the Nikon 40mm on my YouTube channel. I will be doing a review on that and showing sample images. So, you know, you can see what the quality of them is like. So there we go. That is the, you know, as I've said about 3 times now, the fundamental differences between the ZFC and the Z50. The Z50 again is very much like the full frame cameras that Nikon make. The Z5 this happens to be, but you can see the design similarities between the Z5 with the top plate and the Z50, the handle, the grip, the buttons are all in the same place. So, you know, as I've said before, I've said in other videos, if you already have something like the Z6 and the Z7 or Z62, Z72, you may want to go, if you do want a really compact travel camera, you may want to go for the Z50 because you can set it up exactly the same way. So you don't have to remember, you know, different settings. I've got both, well, I've got all three. I've got the, you know, the Z5, ZFC and the Z50. There we go. That's the differences between the Z50 and the ZFC. Image quality, image quality is going to be pretty much identical. As I say, take a look at my Flickr page. It's well worth doing that. I'll leave links to both the gallery for the ZFC samples and the gallery for the Z50 samples, and take a look at them. So thanks very much for watching. Stay tuned for more videos relating to video and photography. I really appreciate your comments. I like the feedback. I do read the comments, and it really helps me grow the channel. People that do leave comments, that's really appreciative. So thanks very much for watching. Stay tuned for more videos relating to video photography, audio, podcasting. Regarding audio, I'm actually playing with a new set of wireless microphones that I recently purchased, which is the Comica Boom DX2 something. It's a wireless, it's one receiver and two transmitters. I'm just playing with them at the moment, seeing how good they are. That's the audio, hopefully, that I'll be using for this video, or I'm doing backup audio with my Sennheiser MKE 600. I've also got a Sony ECMB1M something, I think it's called, something like that, backup audio on my ZV-E10. So no, it's on my 6600 today. So there we go. Thanks very much for watching, and stay tuned for more videos. Cheers for now. Bye.